How we sends the wrong rhetoric narrative all throughout the society, and in this particular discussion, I'm going to nuance it to the spirit of democracy. But let's talk about a few points of responses and why those argumentations that previous speaker gave is very irrelevant. First, this is their form of gaining interests for themselves. Firstly, they talked about milking cows, right? But as if it doesn't happen in their model, right? But even if you look at the reality, it's even the most educated people who are the most corrupt, right? We think that there is no standard for why you can consider someone corrupt. And it's not even dependent, for instance, to your college education. If you look at the biggest plunderers in history, they are the people who are the most educated. They even come from the University of the Philippines, other well-reputable universities. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because you had an education, it doesn't necessarily follow that you will always be serving the people. That's not true. Secondly, he also talked about Manny Pacquiao example, and it really appeared that he doesn't know anything about politics because he talked about Manny Pacquiao as an example of an incompetent candidate because he wasn't able to pass laws. Firstly, no thank you, sit down. You being able to pass laws isn't dependent to your college education, right? Because it's dependent upon the will of other people to pass the law that you created, right? So, the very reason why they weren't able to pass laws is maybe because a lot of the laws right now are so established and a lot of laws that they are passing in the Senate is already a form provision of the past laws. And that is the true politics, right? Now, even if they weren't able to pass laws, the function of political leaders are really to create laws, to enact laws, but to be able to serve the people, to lead them to a better society. It's not necessarily about creating rules, right? Because rules have been created all before, right? Rules such as disrespecting, for instance, or preventing people from disrespecting human rights, those are constant laws. We think the only added value for why you vote for political leaders is are they able to sympathize with the plight of the poor? Are they able to sympathize, for instance, the problem of the people who have their homes, for instance, burned just because of economic advancements, economic interests? We think that there are a lot of reasons for why we think it's not really necessary for you to gain an educational degree for that to take place. No, thank you. Last point of response. You talked about Department of Justice, agrarian reform, etc., etc. Those are extremely complex situations that people are also required to understand such complex scenarios, such as justice. You must be able to memorize the laws, right? That's not the case with politicians. That's not the case, for instance, if you look at individuals who are, for example, representing the minority, which is, by the way, a political party, a public office, which you must also be able to take into consideration, right? Because if you are a minority, if you are a part of an ITA, and you want to serve the people by running a political